Hey, Jeannie Lynch coming back to you today. So happy to continue the beautiful series, Spiritual Stories Worth Sharing. And here's my question today. So whether you're listening to this on the Intuitive Mindset podcast or watching this in HD color, I have one question for you. Have you realized that the darkest times in your life have brought in the most important relationships? I'll give you a second to put your mind around that. It's truly true. The darkness, the contrast, the shadow that shows up in our life truly is and has the most to offer. Well, Lisa and I met at the worst time in our life. You're about to meet Lisa Murdock. She's actually been featured on my channel over a year ago when I did the 6 healers coming together to answer questions. And I loved her insight, I loved her story, and I loved her journey. Well, she reached out to me when she heard I was doing Spiritual Stories Worth Sharing because she wanted to take us through her time when she, had this awakening and what she walked through. You're about to find out what that means in a minute, and how she got to the other side by the worst time in her life being open to receive and hearing those messages and having those visions happen. And all that is coming up next. I can't wait to share the story with you. So stay listening, stay watching. That interview, that story worth sharing is coming up next. Lisa, I see your beautiful smile. Thank you so much for taking time out of your beautiful day to come back on and work with me and do another interview. I know we did work a year ago when we did the 6 healers coming together. So that was so much fun. And I'm so excited to have you back on a guest. So whether people are listening to this on the Intuitive Mindset podcast or watching this in HD color, I truly do appreciate your time and the audience that's listening. So today, in continuing the beautiful series, Spiritual Stories We're Sharing, you reached out to me because you had what you felt to be this kind of awakening in this story that was worth sharing. And I did kind of set it up on the hook prior to us getting on today that, we met at a pretty dark time in our life, right? So I know that's not really the story we're sharing, but just the information. So to just kind of let my audience know who you are and what you are, if you could just do a little layup to just you and the story in which you wish to share today. So
Sure. It was the time in my life where I was having more and more spiritual awakening. But at that time, it was my biggest magical spiritual story. So I share it from my perspective. My marriage was going pretty well. He ended up falling in love with another woman. He didn't do anything wrong. He didn't cheat or anything. He didn't do anything wrong, but he had this draw to this woman he was in a program with, and the draw was just undeniable and got stronger and stronger over time, and to the point where my marriage ended. And that left me, of course, all kinds of feelings, right, of betrayal and abandonment and all that kind of stuff, and just really hurt. But during that time, I got really angry, and I was angry because I lost my husband and best friend of 20 years, and then I was having my children half-time, which I was not happy about. And I remember saying, I didn't have children to have them half-time, I want them full-time. So anyway, during that time, it got worse. I started feeling rage, and I didn't know what to do with it. I didn't know how to heal it. And then also I started having past life experiences just spontaneously. And one of those past life experiences was that I've done this before.
Okay.
So all the people involved have done this before, and there's always someone on the out, someone getting hurt and left. And so with that awareness, I was absolutely determined, I'm going to heal this because I don't want to do this again in another life.
I love that. Actually, let me stop you there too, because I just finished another interview where I mentioned the same thing. And what we know is if you don't heal it, you attract it, because the universe or soul or ourself, whatever, wants it healed, right? That's our journey. So I love your awareness to that. Okay, go ahead. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
Exactly. Right, I'd either have it happen again in this life or another life, right? Either, and I wasn't willing to do that again. So I was determined to heal it. I had no idea how. And then a little while later, my spiritual teacher at the time, Ivan Macbeth, I had expressed to him that I wanted to learn how to facilitate fire walks. I had done many, but I haven't facilitated them. And so he called me up, and he called me right at a time where I was feeling rage.
Okay.
And he said, I'm going up north. Do you want to join me and help me with this fire walk, and I'll teach you? And I said, yes. So I, meditated in the car the whole way to calm myself down. Anyway, we get there and we build this tremendous fire, a big, huge, roaring fire. And I decided for the first time in my life to get down on my hands and knees, put my head on the ground and prayed. And I had no idea who I was praying to, but I prayed, like, help me transform this rage. Help me learn to forgive. I don't know how to do it. Yeah. So I got up off the ground, and it was a bunch of dance people. So we were all dancing around the fire and just having a good time while the fire is roaring, right? And then I all of a sudden saw a face in the fire and the flames. And it was like a very distinct face, but it was demonic looking. It was a little scary. It was intense. And so I danced with it for a while until someone needed me, and then it was gone, right? And so, and then as the fire was dying down, well, I don't know. Let me just explain a little bit of logistics of fire walking.
Please do. Teach us. I have no idea. I've seen it. It terrifies me. So please put some light on it.
So as the fire dies down to the hot coals, then you rake a path in the coals, a long path in the coals. And at one end, we'll have a bucket of water. And then when the facilitator calls, it's time to walk, everybody circles. They walk in a circle and they're chanting, and they're in a very meditative, trance-like place, and they're circling the fire over and over until they feel called to walk. And then they'll walk across the fire, and then they'll stand in the bucket for a few seconds, and then they'll join the rest of the circle and continue walking. So everybody has a chance to walk. But so when the facilitator says it's time to walk, you're not talking to anybody. You're in a meditative place, right? And so he called time to walk, and all of a sudden I get this message, which I didn't get messages like that before. And the message was, go over and ask this young lady who happened to be blind if she would like me to walk her across the fire.
Did you know she was blind when you approached her?
I knew she was blind.
Okay. So, but you're like, someone told you go help her.
Yeah, a voice came and told me in my head, a voice said, I don't even know this woman. So I went over and introduced myself to her and her partner. Neither of them had firewalked before. And I offered to walk her across the fire if she would allow me. And she said yes, which was like, wow. Yeah. And then, so she was thinking she'd do it. She just didn't want to hold her partner back. And I said, well, look, I've done this so many times. I can get you across that fire. I can get you into the bucket. So you just squeeze my arm when you're ready. And she did, and just blew me away. So we went across the hot coals. It was no problem. And then we got near the bucket and she started veering off to the right. So I had to stop and stand still. And I figured, well, I fried my feet. That's it. Because you're not to stop. And I got her into the bucket, and then I got myself into the bucket, and we're like, yeah, like totally psyched. I was so pumped. And so we both did it, and I helped her do it. And I was in such a high. So that night and the next day, that high carried through, that I had a temporary relief of my anger and everything about my marriage, right? So the next morning, I'm at my house, and with my two boys and this woman who's in my husband's life and her two boys, they're all at my house. So we're all playing hide and seek. And I'm hiding in the closet and just enjoying the peace and solitude of not being found.
Yeah, it's too funny.
And I had my eyes closed, just relaxing, and still on a high from the night before. And I hear the name Fudo. I was like, Fudo, what is that? And so as soon as I got found, I ran to the computer and I Googled Fudo, and blew my mind. So Fudo is a Japanese god of fire and wisdom. And the pictures they showed of him were the exact picture that I saw in the fire, the exact same face in the fire. And then I read he's known to transform rage.
Oh my gosh.
And then different sources say different things. One, that he's either blind or he heals the blind.
Oh, come on.
So I was totally blown away. I was like, I couldn't possibly make this up. Yeah. All the things, right? And so anyway, he worked with me and other deities, but he worked with me and I transformed that rage. I healed. And yeah,
Is
I
it
healed.
healed through the knowing, or is it healed through the miraculous connection or coincidence, as we know there is none, but that you're worthy because you had prayed and you had asked and there it was and you were willing to do the work? I mean, take us through like all of, obviously it's a process and a transition to get there. So I know it didn't happen in 22 seconds when you were found, right? I know that, but from your awareness perspective, take me through a little bit more. Like, was it the awareness that you had asked for it and here it was so quickly, or that you had the gift of take me through that?
It was a process, but that was a huge part of the process, and I knew I was being supported.
There it is.
That's what I never felt in my entire life, was being supported. And so the unseen support was coming in.
Yeah. Can I connect with you on that real quick?
Yeah.
I just want to share my own personal connection to something that you just said, and it's my own in the darkness, okay? Something had happened back in my grief where I had reached that point where I surrender. Do you know what I mean? Like, and they kept saying, give it up to God and, and get on your knees. And like you, I had my head on the ground once, having a full-blown breakdown in my house alone with a realization that my grief had settled in to such a level that I knew I wasn't capable of dealing with. Okay. And so I yelled out, you want this? Everybody keeps telling me to give it up to you. You got it, because I can't do it. And within 24 hours of surrendering that and asking for help, it all transformed, and not without a process or awareness. So this is this kind of hook, as I was saying in the beginning of your video, the darkest times in our lives have the most to offer, right? So here you are, and now that placed you on your gift, right? So keep going. This is beautiful. I guess the next question would be, well, how did this change your life? Duh. Take us through
it changed my life in every way. And yes, I'm in full agreement, and that's what I tell clients all the time, right? Is our darkest times or just our challenges.
Yeah.
And I used to think they were a way to learn and grow, but it's even more than that to me. It's about evolving. It's about learning how to receive more love and more joy, and it's about connecting to who we really are, and that's what all the challenges can do for us, right?
I like that. Let's reiterate that too. I used to feel it was just the lesson. Oh, laser God school, life lesson. It is more than that. It's about the beautiful experience that experience affords us.
Yeah.
But what you and I are both agreeing on is it's so much deeper than that. It's the experience that takes place that opens our heart or makes a heartfelt connection, and the people who show up. It's not the loss. It's not the relationship. It's all that beautiful, touching soul that has to do with the experience. So I love your awareness to that. Have you ever had an experience where someone showed up in the dark and you've been able to see through your own healing modalities, right, where they're going to land on the other side of it? And so in a sense, you can see the beauty of it.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
that's what
I want to connect with their soul and know what they really are and help them to see it. Yeah. That's the best.
That's what I'm saying. Okay, so here's my question. We talked about timeline, and you went from the rage to, is this years? Is this weeks? Is this days from when you started experiencing rage to your healing? How quickly did this show up for you?
I know. It's a really hard thing to say because it was a process over time, and certain things would trigger it to come back. But I was certainly on that trajectory, right, of healing, and I was always looking inward. So I can't say how long, but it happened. It happened fairly quick, and I had friends who went through similar things, and where I noticed, wow, they're still in that, But what I can say is the healing, and I could say the first year or so was a lot of healing, right? But even over the years, it continued, and I've developed an incredible relationship with that woman. So she and I are pretty close now.
Oh, I love that.
And I still have love for my ex-husband, which I've expressed to him recently. And I have a partner in my life now for 9 years who it has gotten better than I ever could have imagined. Expansive and adventurous and fun and more love, and so
it's changed your life in so many miraculous ways. Right?
And I never knew it could get this good.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Hey, were you already a healer before? Were you already doing this work you're doing now?
I was not. I was on the path, I think, but I was not there, no.
So, Lisa, you have so many beautiful processes that you use. Can you let my audience know? Because I don't think you're like any healer I've ever met. So you have so many different modalities that you use within your spiritual practice. Can you give my audience a sense of how you help people heal? Because I don't know if I can give it a definition. So could you?
It's hard for me to give it a definition. Yeah. but I do hands-on energy work. It doesn't even necessarily, I can do it on the phone, but I seem to have a gift for finding people's traumas that are stuck in their body, or even their limit. I help them discover all their limiting beliefs, right? And limiting thinking, and help them change that. I do all sorts of work, and a lot of deities come in that are not my spirituality, but my client's spirituality. Right, I have a very esoteric. I have a woman who says she's an esoteric Christian, and she has Mother Mary come in, and Christ, and so I've experienced bodhisattvas. I've experienced different deities from different religions, and
so when someone's on your table and you're, having a sense of what you need to work on, is it all done through channeling, or do they tell you and then you go in, or do you just have them lie down and get quiet?
Yeah, no, a good question, because I do work differently. No, my whole thing is a collaboration with my client. Okay. I don't want to be the psychic. I don't want to figure everything out. And I don't want to be in here because it doesn't work, right? Yeah. So it's a collaboration between my client, myself, and other. And I want, when I get them engaged, like if yesterday my client's father came in, deceased father came in, and I was working with them, but then I had her start working with him, and then it amped it all up. And it's the same with working in their body, with moving the energy. I'll have them start visualizing it, and then it amps it up. And so, right, because we're all powerful for ourselves. And
we really are. I love that. What I'd say, if you knew then what you knew now, I love that question on these interviews, because here you were, not fully awake, right? Becoming awake, and here you are more awake and still learning, right? So if you knew then, back in the rage, that you know now, what would you have done differently?
Oh my goodness. I would have trusted life.
Love that.
I would have looked inward more to find that power and that love that's within me more. And
here's a question too. You said you've learned how to facilitate firewalks for people. Is this something you're still doing? Can people do this, or how does somebody even attempt to do what you did?
Yeah, there's lots of people who facilitate them. I have been facilitating them for the Green Mountain Druid Order. Okay. But I'm on a little hiatus because I broke my ankle, and I'm not sure if I want to continue with all that metal in there. But anyway, it's another tool, and there's many tools. It's a tool to face your fears and walk through them, because you think, couldn't possibly walk on fire. Oh, and I did it. So what else do I think I can't do? And I can. Right. So that's what it's for.
I love that. Was there something that you want, as when you think about my spiritual practice and what I'm trying to teach people and what you're trying to share, what would be the thing that you want people to know about this process that you went through that will help others? What would you talk about trust? Is there more to it than that you would want your clients to know?
Yeah, well, for one thing, that there could be many reasons why it's happening. It could be something our soul chose before coming here. It could be karmic stuff that's coming to heal. There's so many reasons that we can't see right? That are not just so obvious. And then that we have a lot of support, even if you feel completely alone, because I felt completely alone. You're never alone. There is always so much support around us. And non-physical, I mean, you can have your friends too and family, but the non-physical support is there. And I experience it with clients all the time. And sometimes I'll say, Archangel Michael's here. And they're like, I always work with Archangel Michael, and they never told me. So there's, that, like we said, that the challenges are our gifts. And it's hard to remember, but those are good reminders.
Love that. You know, when you were knowing that you and I were going to talk today and you were excited to share this story, can you think of that one thing you were like, oh yeah, if I had one message to say, it would be this about this process? I want to make sure that gets on tape or video. So,
sure. My message would be that each of us has, I would say, divinity within, right? That we're connected to that within, and you find it within you. And so all the joy and the love, peace that we're so desperately seeking, it's all here. It's all.
I love that. I really do. You know, that I blew through these questions. I mean, you know, do you realize you answered so much? Timeline, point of inspiration, what did it teach you about yourself? How did this change your life? I mean, you answered all of these questions. Is there anything that I have missed as we're kind of getting ready to hang up today that you want to make sure gets said?
Yeah. I think it's about trusting in life, and fear is running rampant right now. Right?
Actually, let's stop there. Let's go into one more thing. I'm doing another collaboration video, and we're asking the question, what's showing up in your spiritual practice for people right now? I mean, let's just do a little baseline where we are in the world today. The coronavirus is like top news. Everybody's not going anywhere. We're washing our hands. We're freaking out. We're in fear. What's showing up in your spiritual practice for the clients that you're serving that seems to be a common theme for you right now?
Fear is what's going to attract sickness or weaken our immune system so that we get sick. It's what the love is the most powerful thing. And if we just focus on that, then our chances are much better of.
I love that. Did some deep work. You probably have heard this. The only little prayer you need. It's the deep work of the Course of Miracles, you know, that we move from love or fear and heal my fear-based thoughts. Right now, I've been teaching this for a while. And recently with my health challenge, it wasn't until I started saying it every day where I started to really feel like I was being healed again. So even the healers need to be reminded, right?
I do have a theme. Yes. I just thought that's been in my work, but it's also been in my life because I've been fascinated for years now about death and the afterlife. And so I get a lot of clients who have just lost a husband or a father or mother, right, sister. And so I've been working a lot with those who have just recently died, and the healing. And it's amazing. It sounds crazy, but the person who died is also healing in the relationship. And so is the client. And I can feel it both ways. Yeah. And yesterday when it was happening and I had my client speaking to her father, it wasn't working and it wasn't working. He wasn't shifting. And he was in a lot of denial. And then I finally had her speak all her pain about it and from what she was feeling. And he came out of the denial and he started changing and healing. So
now, was he in spirit or is she in spirit when you were making the connection?
He was in spirit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah. He was kind of stuck in a kind of limited place.
That reminds me of a time that you and I were talking offline about, and I said, "Ooh, I'm gonna get you on interview and ask that question next time." We're talking about healing through time because there's no time, right? And how just what you said when I'm healing something in me that's connected to my daughter, that she receives the benefit of that healing also. And so on. And,
that's true. Mm-hmm.
I just love that awareness too, that we're all kind of healing the lineage line, I guess, if there was a word for it, which there isn't, right? So you're seeing that in your work too.
Totally. And sometimes I can really feel the connection. It's almost like there's a physical line there between them. And I can feel the connection of a particular pain or a trauma, and then, so, yeah.
I've had, they seem to come in threes for me, grandmother, mother, daughter. And I've seen it in my spiritual work where they're all working on the same energy. Let's say it's receiving. That when the one in physical learns how to receive, the one in spirit receives it, and the one connected to her. So even in the parent line, it's amazing. So I love that. I think that pretty much sums up our beautiful story we're sharing today. And the thing we're going to do is go into our rapid fire. Do you know what rapid fire is?
Okay.
Oh, yeah. You got to answer these beautiful questions. So if you had one or two books that you wanted to make sure people saw because, boy, it really helped you, and what would be some recommendations for books?
Well, Eckhart Tolle's A New Earth is always a favorite of mine, and I've read it a few times now because each time you get something different from it. You understand it deeply, different level, right? And recently I just read Byron Katie's 1,000 Names for Joy, which is incredible.
Okay, there we go. I'll put those up so people can see. Next fast question is, if the world needs what in order to be changed? What does the world need, Lisa?
What we've been talking about, going inward to your own divinity within, to that love within, and it will change everything.
I love it. We all come here with a life lesson. We seem to be the PhD in one common theme. What do you think your life lesson is?
It's been a lot of things. Shame, judgment, forgiveness, learning all these things, but really learning about love and learning about who I am, I think, is it's really all about.
I think you've mastered that. I love that.
I don't think so, but
yeah. What about yourself do you love?
I love my adaptability, and I love my ability to still my mind to go to that place.
Oh my gosh, teach that to so many other people, please. What are you doing when you're experiencing joy, Lisa?
It could be anything because it's here, right? But gazing into my kids' eyes, being wrapped in my sweetie's arms, or being in nature.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. That is all we have today. I'm so excited to reconnect with you. I'm so excited. Thank you for taking your time and sharing your beautiful story. So we will leave with that, and I truly do appreciate you.
Yeah, I appreciate you. Thank you.
Have a great day.
To you, Jeannie. Bye.